Hey, welcome to the first video on Consume Code. My name is Martin, I'm from France. I used Unity for a while, but I recently switched to Godot and I found out there were not that much tutorials, so I decided to make some. Okay, in this series of tutorials, we're going to make a full game where you will be able to move your player, shoot some balls, which will bounce on walls, and you will also randomly spawn enemies and damage your player. Awesome. So in this first episode we will begin by making a player, an environment, and being able to move your player in this environment. Okay, so to start you need to download the assets, the link is in the description. Then you just want to copy them in your folder in a new Godot project and extract them. So here we are in our Godot project. First thing, we will create a node 2D and call it world. And we'll save this as our world scene. Next we'll create a new scene. This time it will be our player, so we will create a kinematic body. Okay, we will add a child node which will be a node 2D and will contain all the sprites, so we'll call it sprites. Then we'll add a sprite node as a child. And for the texture, you want to go in assets, images, and take your player.png, put it in texture. Okay, so as you see, we not only have one texture, we have all the textures for the player. So we want to enable region, and this allows you to select a specific part of your image to create your sprite. So you click on texture region and here you can select your part. We will use auto slice and just click here and you have your sprite. This one will be the body, so just select this white part and call this sprite body. Then we will add another sprite. This time it will be the head. So same, you take player.png, select region, and you select the head. We also add another sprite called left arm. And select the left arm. Don't forget to enable region. And then you can just duplicate this one 4 times. So one will be right arm, left leg, and right leg. For the right arm you select this one, for the left leg this one, and for the right leg this one. Okay, so now we want to just move around our sprites. Okay, let's put back the body here. So we want to take the head, put it on the top of body. Left arm will go there. Right arm there. Left leg will go there. And right leg here. Okay, we want to now make a face. So let's add a node 2D, as we will want to move the face in animation. You will see that later. So we'll call this face, and again we will add a sprite. We'll call it mouth. select this one and we duplicate left eye, right eye. This one it will be left eye, this one right eye. We just need to move them around. So right eye will be somewhere here, left eye here, and you take the mouth and put it here. Okay, so now we have our player. Next step is to add a collision shape 2D. So you create a new shape. We'll take a rectangle shape, patch it down here. Let's make it like that. We want our player to not be here, but here. So the position of his feet will be great because later we'll be using a Y sort. So we do that, and we also move the collision shape right here. Let's call this player and save. We'll make it in a scenes folder. Okay, so now we can start programming. So let's add the scripts to the player node. Just put this one in a scripts folder. Okay, get rid of this. So first thing we want to have is the axis, like the input axis. So we create a variable named axis equal to vector2 0. Okay, next step is to get input axis. For that we will first create a function name get input axis. So axis dot x will be equal to input that is action pressed. We'll be using UI right, and then if the player is pressing left, we want to have -1 on the x-axis, so we'll do minus input that is action press UI, so this time it will be left. Okay, those are booleans, so we need to convert them to int. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for the y-axis. So let's copy paste. This time it will not be UI right, but UI down here and UI up here. The reason why it's down here and up here is because of the Y orientation in Godot. So now we'll use the physics process, and we'll just call our function get input axis. Okay, so our axis variable here will be set up every frame by our function get input axis called in physics process. Next we will test if our axis, which has just been updated, is equal to vector2.0. If it is the case, we want to apply some friction, so we'll just leave a comment here, and else we want to apply some motion. Okay, let's go back to the variables first. So we'll not need only an axis but also velocity. And we'll need some parameters. So let's create export var. One will call max speed. Let's set it to 500. Another called acceleration, set to 2000. And the last one called friction, which will be set to 10,000. Okay, now we can create our function apply motion. It will take a parameter called acceleration factor, and we will just take the velocity and add it axis times acceleration factor. Then we will do velocity equal to velocity that clamped and by our max speed. Okay, so what are we doing here? First we take our velocity, we add our axis, so this is the direction the player is pressing, and we multiply by acceleration factor, so we will go quicker and quicker in function of this parameter. And then we just do a clamp, which is if our velocity is greater than max speed, then it will be equal to max speed. We also need to have a function called apply friction, which will also take a parameter. We'll test if velocity, that length, is greater than our friction factor. Then we will just remove a vector which is equal to velocity that normalized time friction factor. So this is so we're reducing our velocity, but we don't want to invert the vector, so we'll do an else, and we'll just put our velocity to 0 in this case. Okay, now we can go back to our physics process function and get rid of those paths by just saying here we will apply friction equal to friction times delta. The friction parameter, remember, is our variable here. And in the else, so if the player is pressing some buttons to move, we'll apply a motion, and this time it will be acceleration times delta. Then we do a velocity equal to move and collide, move and slide, and we take our velocity. Okay, let's test this. We first need to select our world scene of the main scene, and we will just launch world. We need to add the player, so let's go in scenes, player, and add it to our world scene. Let's just move our player so we can see it and press start. Okay, now by pressing the arrow keys you can move the player around the screen. Cool. Okay, now we want to set up our world scene. So we will want to add some walls on the borders. So the first step is to create a static body 2D, which will, just a child of world, which will contain our walls. So we'll call it walls. We will add some sprites as child of this node. This one we will put border up in it. We'll duplicate, call it sprite up. This one will add border down, call it sprite down. Another one called wall. We'll put wall in this, and a last one called ground, and we'll put the ground in this one. Just select all of those one and uncheck centered. You just need to have your walls at position 0, 0, and then all your sprites will be on the screen. Then we need to order them, so ground will be back here, sprite up will be here, we need sprite down to be here. Okay, we've added all the sprites and ordered them. Now we want to select all of them, go to transform and set 0.5 and 0.5. Now in project settings you want to go to window, select 1920 and 1080. You don't want it to be resizable, and you can select full screen. In rendering, under environments, you want to select the default clear color to a full black. And now we can test our project. Okay, so we have a scene and we can move in it, but there are not collision right now. So to set up the collisions, we'll first add a collision shape 2D. Let's select rectangle shape. Want to have it quite bigger. Let's place it on the bottom. We can duplicate this one. Place it up here. Duplicate again. Select transform. 90 degrees rotation. Place it on the left. Duplicate again. And place it on the right. We can name this one down, up, left, and right. We'll collide here on the left too. and down here also. But down here, as you can see, it is quite weird, and we are not like going under the wall on the side too, so we'll fix that. First of all, the collision shape down need to be placed way more down, so we can like go under the wall in this spot. Then we select the ground, set its Z index to -1. The wall also will be set to -1, so our player will be in front of them. Our sprite up will also be set to -1. Sorry. And our sprite down will be set to 1. We can test this. So our player is more in a 3D environment. As you can see, it looks like if he was like down in this ground and he was having walls around him. Okay, so this is all for this video. We made our player move. So in the next tutorial we'll be able to make our player move like that with animation nodes. So consider subscribing and activate the bell if you want to get notified when the next tutorial is out. Also, you can give us feedback in the comments. If you have any question about some parts of this tutorial, you can also ask them. We will answer really quickly. See you!